All right, so what we're going to do today is we are going to talk about methods and classes and instantiation and all kinds of new words and stuff that's brand new. Let's go over the basics. Let's start with what a class is. You've been dealing with classes this entire year so far. You just didn't really know what it was. A class is a blueprint for creating objects. Vocabulary here. You can, and here's another new vocabulary word, instantiate as many objects as needed. The word instantiate just means create. What we have here is a class. What is this class? It's a bug. Now, a class is defined by what it can do. What it can do is called a method. This bug has a method called speak. When it speaks, what happens? It prints out chirp, chirp. And right now, that's all this class does. It's a bug that can say chirp, chirp. Not very interesting, but just to give you the idea. So the class is the bug. The method is speak. Now, to be able to use that method, to be able to make it speak, you have to instantiate or create an object. So the bug itself is just an idea. It doesn't exist yet. It's like, I have this idea. In theory, there's this thing called a bug that can speak. But to go from in theory to reality, you have to create the object. So we do what's called instantiation. And that's what this line of code is here. You probably remember seeing something pretty similar to this when we were doing the scanner class. Remember I said last unit, we're going to create this scanner, but you don't really know what's going on? Well, now you're going to understand it. So you start by saying, what's the name of the class? Well, it's a bug. And then what's the name of the object? You can call it whatever you want. I call this one dude. This is the bug named dude. And what is dude? Dude is a new bug. It's called instantiating an object. And all it does is it creates a new bug object. That's all that's going on there. Now, when you instantiate something, it allows you to use the methods. And the reason that you can use those methods is because what the computer is actually doing, what Java is actually doing, is creating a space in memory for this object, saying, okay, I have this thing called dude. I'm going to store it here, and now dude can do things. Now, you can instantiate as many objects as you want. You can make 5. I created 5 here. You can create 100. Or usually we're just creating 1. But there are some instances where you might want separate objects that can do separate things. Now, when you create an object, you're allowed to use the class's methods. Now, we've been doing this since day 1. You just didn't realize it. On day 1, we did system.out.println, and we said, hello, world. That print line right there, that's a method. That's the system printing out the method println prints out on the terminal a string. A method is a storage location for related program statements. When called, a method usually performs a specific task. In this instance, it's going to print something out. Now, there's lots of different kinds of methods. We're going to do math.random next class. But you've seen this one. Remember we were doing a scanner class, and we had next int or next double or just next or next line. Also println, system.out.println. Println is a method. So you've been using methods, you just didn't realize it. So here is a method. This bug has one method. It can speak. And when this bug speaks, it says, chirp, chirp. I have no idea why. Methods are defined inside of a class. So you're going to create the class, and then inside of the class, you're going to put methods. This one has one method. We're going to do a little group project in a little bit here where we're going to have like 6 or 7 different methods within the same class. So you can have a bunch of methods in there. You can define as many methods as needed. So maybe this bug doesn't just speak. Maybe it can fly. Maybe it can get stomped on. Bugs do lots of different things. And for each one of those things, you would have a specific method. Method speak is public and does not return a value. Method speak contains one line of code that prints out chirp chirp. So you see the word void? What that void means is that this method doesn't return a value. Some methods return values, some don't. We'll talk about that some more in a moment. So once you've instantiated an object, so I instantiated a bug named dude. Once you've created that object, you've brought it into the world. And that object has all of the abilities of the general class. So since bugs can speak, I can say, okay, dude dot speak. And what's it going to do? It's just going to do whatever that method does. In this case, it's going to spit out chirp chirp. So once you've instantiated an object, you can call the methods contained in that class. And you can do it multiple times. You can print it out as many times as you want. So what I want to do here is I want to create a class. I want to show you how to do it in BlueJ. And since we're going to do it in BlueJ, I'm going to create a bird class. So let me pull up BlueJ here. I'm going to close out what I was doing before. You should always close out BlueJ before you start something new. And I'm going to create a new project here. And this one, let's just call this project bird. And bird, did I put that in the right place? I think I did not. Yeah, I put that in my second period. This is third period. Got to stay organized, folks. So I'm going to call this the bird folder. Yeah, I got to create it first. All right. So I'm going to create this project. It's called bird. And what is a bird? What can a bird do? Tell me some of the things that a bird can do. What else can it do besides fly? Eat. What else can it do? Speak. Anything else? Die. It can do lots of things, right? Birds can do lots of things. So when you've got a class, inside of the class, you can put any method you want. So let's just take some of them we were talking about here. Inside this class, what can this bird do? Let's say one of the things it can do is speak. So I'm going to make a void method here, and it's going to call speak. What does speak do? Well, let's just say it does something simple. Let's say it's going to print out, when I ask that bird to speak, it's just going to print out, say it again, buzz, buzz. Sure, lots of birds say buzz, buzz. Why not? Sure glad that I'm recording this. And then, so that's just one method. But birds can do lots of things, right? They don't just speak, they fly, they eat, they do lots of things. So let's just put another method in here. And let's see if we can make it do something else. So instead of just speaking and saying buzz, buzz, like many birds do, let's also have it, let's give it the ability to say its name. And when you're doing classes, the first letter is always capitalized. When you're doing methods, it's called camel case. The first letter is lowercase, and then subsequent words are capitalized at the beginning. That's why you see a lowercase s but a capital N there. It's called camel case. All right, so when I ask it to say its name, this bird needs a name. So what are we going to name our bird? Did I hear Larry? Larry the bird. Oh, I get it. Larry Bird. That's very clever.
Must be a joke.
No, it's a joke, and it's official because it's on tape. We all heard it. I'm recording it. If anybody bothers to watch it, and I'm pretty YouTube famous, so like and subscribe.
And that brings us to today's sponsor.
So now, I know a bird can do a lot more than this, but let's just leave this as two methods right now. Right now, this bird, it can speak and it can say its name. But this is just a bird in theory. This isn't an actual bird. This is just the idea of a bird. In order to get a bird to actually do this, I have to create a bird object. Now that's going to happen in a separate class. So this is the new part. This is the part we haven't been doing. So this is the bird class. What I need to do is create a new one called the bird runner class. Now this is what you're going to see. This is pretty commonplace. The class with the main method is usually called the runner class because this is the class that's going to actually run the program. We're going to drop the main method in there. So whenever you're going to compile everything, but you're only going to use this class, the runner class, to actually run the program. So what's that going to look like? Let me open up the editor here. And in BlueJ, you guys got to get used to clearing everything out here. So the main method, help me out. Public, static, void, main, string, args. Now, I've got the main method, which means I can run this program. Within the main method, we need to instantiate or create a bird object. How do I do that? Pretty easily. I say, all right, I want to create a bird. Well, this time we're going to call it, we can call it anything we want. We can call it X. You can call it, this is going to be the name of the object. So keep it simple, call it bird1 or X or Y, or it's just the name of the object. And what is the object? Well, bird1 is a new bird. So now I've gone from theory, here's the idea of a bird, to an actual bird. I just created it. Bird1 is an actual bird. It exists. So now this bird has all the properties. It can do all the things that any bird can do. So I could ask it to speak, for instance. Or I could ask it to say its name. And right now, that's basically all it can do because we didn't define any other methods. But I can call those methods as many times as I want. I could ask it to speak again if I wanted to. That's got to be bird1. So when I run this code, what do you think is going to happen? What's going to print out on the terminal? It's going to say buzz, buzz, Larry the bird, buzz, buzz, just like any bird would. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to compile this thing, and look what BlueJ did for us here. See that little arrow? See the runner class running over there? It says, hey, this runner class is connected to this class. It's using information over here to run this program. So that's a nice little thing that BlueJ does for us. So we only do the void main on the runner class. And when I run it, there's sure enough, buzz, buzz. I'm Larry the bird. Buzz, buzz. Nothing conspicuous about that. If this could happen to you when you leave school, first bird you encounter, buzz, buzz. Hey, I'm Larry the bird. Buzz, buzz. And then it flies off. This is exactly what happens many, many times. So that's a pretty simple introduction to instantiating an object, and then once you've instantiated it, using some of those methods. Now, what we've talked about so far are what called void methods. See that word void right there? Oh, go ahead, Lucas.
So I know this is like crazy out of what we're doing right now.
Maybe.
But how do we do it to like make it so that the user could input the bird to speak?
That's a good question. So we would have to use the scanner class like that. So you want to make the bird talk essentially, or what?
So like in games, whenever you like select an action or something like that, or like when you have dialogue with an NPC or things like that, by like selecting one, like how would you do something like that?
Well, let's have that conversation individually. There's a way to do it. I promise. I like where your head's at, but I don't want to bore I don't want to lose subscribers.
Gotcha.
You gotta keep those likes and subscribes.
Yeah.
You say tune in next time.
Tune in next time. Yeah, let's have that. We'll have some time at the end.
Okay.
Let's have that conversation individually. I like where your head's at. This was a void method because this method did not return anything. Some methods are void methods, and some methods actually return values. Like they might return an integer. They might return a double. They might return a string or a Boolean. All the different types we talked about before. So now, want to talk about return methods for a little bit here. So I'm actually going to start a new project. I'm going to close this one. Say bye to Larry the bird. Buzz, buzz. All right, let's create a new one. And let's just call this one, I'm going to call this my math project. Oops. Good call. Gotta stay organized. Bless you. Call it math. New project. Math copy. No, I just want to call it math. All right. And so now I'm going to make a new class. And this class is going to be called the math class. What are some things you've done in math that were kind of unpleasant, that you didn't enjoy doing? Addition and subtract. We can't do the quadratic equation because that's going to be our lab next week. But I like where your head's at. Again, I love the joke answer, addition and subtraction. So I'm going to go with that first. What is something you did not enjoy doing in math? Literally the first thing that I did in math, addition and subtraction. We could define a method so that we just write the code ourselves to do it once, and then we could repeat it over and over again so that we never have to do it again. So I can make a class here that returns, let's say it returns an int, and I'm calling it addition. And what this addition class is going to do is it's going to take two integer values. Let's call them x and y. These are called parameters. X and y are parameters, and what are they? They're integers. Now, this isn't like when we were defining variables before. We had to define them and say int x is, int y is. This only exists here in this method. This is called a local variable. It's just a parameter. It only exists right here. It won't exist anywhere else in the program. And what are we going to do here? When I call addition, I just want to return x plus y. All right. What is something else that you didn't enjoy math that's not the quadratic equation? Oh God, I don't think I can write that program right now. Why are you guys factoring right now? Is that why? Jeez. All right, I'm gonna do something else. I'm gonna say finding the remainder, because that was kind of unpleasant for me. What is the remainder? That's what I want to know. And I'm gonna take two values for that. And see how I'm using the same x and y? That's okay, because this exists here. Those are parameters that exist here. And to get that remainder, what we would do is x% y, right? That's just going to spit out the remainder. So right now, this math class has two methods. It can add, and it can find the remainder. And we can do the factoring stuff, and we can do the quadratic formula. Let's save it for next class, because our whole class is about math next time. And we're going to write that program. It's going to be real fun. You're going to like it. Well, I don't know how much fun it's going to be. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed writing it. All right, so I've got this math class. And it can do two things. It can add and find the remainder. I'll make another one here called the math runner. That's going to contain the main method. So help me out with the main method again. Public. Static. You guys need to start bringing caffeine to this class. Static. Void. Main. Args. Sorry. All right, so let's instantiate an object. And let's instantiate a math object. What should we name our math object? Gotta be a...
Marvin.
Sure, Marvin the math object. Why not? And what is Marvin? Marvin is a new math object. All right, so Marvin can do some things. Right now, Marvin can do exactly two things. He can add two numbers, and he can find the remainder of two numbers. So let's do some math here. And let's just print out Marvin got addition. Now, in order to do addition, we need to input two numbers. What two numbers do we want to add? 65 and what? 300. So we know the answer should be 365, right? We'll run it and make sure in a second here. But I'm also curious, I'm sure Marvin is curious as well, about the remainder of those two numbers. When I do 65 divided by 300, what's the remainder going to be? It doesn't even go in once, right? It should just be a remainder of 65. So I'm going to run this program, and let's just make sure it's working properly. Got to compile both of them, and then we're going to print them out. 365, 65. So Marvin can do two things pretty well. But that's the nice thing about defining a method. You write the program once, and then you never have to do the calculation again. The computer's going to do it for you every single time. You just provide it the inputs, and it's going to wash and repeat every single time. All right, I think that's all I needed to show you. Let me just make sure. Okay, the only other thing I want to say is that when you're looking at a method, that you need to be careful and recognize that the only thing it can return is what we defined in the method header. So it's never going to return a double, and it's never going to return a string. It can only return an int. So we should test that. What do you think will happen if I change this to like 65.5 or to 300.2? It's giving me an error. Why is it giving me an error there?
It's a syntax error because it's trying to define integers, whereas integers can't be defined.
What did I say the parameters have to be?
Integers.
So it will not run unless I give it integers. If I try to give it anything else, it won't work. How could I fix this problem?
Change it to doubles.
What would I need to change to doubles?
The int.
Everything that says int.
Literally every single one of them. That's got to be a double. 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 All 6 of those ints would have to be doubles. All right. That's a really baseline introduction to void methods and return methods. So now we're going to try and practice it. It's probably pretty fuzzy, but this is probably the most important thing you're going to learn all year. So we're going to do it about 1,000 more times this year. It's going to get more clear. So what we're going to do now is we're going to practice it. I'm going to end this video. Hey, thanks for watching.